The EU Divisional Cup finals just ended, and the team that won was a complete surprise. I'm going to break down the whole tournament for you in this video. We're also going to discuss whether a Reconnect button might be coming to Fortnite in the future. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So we'll start by talking about the EU Divisional Cup, and what team actually was it that won finals? Well, it was the French duo of Mumsy and Sato. These guys are regarded as great fighters, and they put on a stylish performance to win. They were actually contested at their drop spot, Outpost Enclave, 6 out of 6 games by Synod and Lucia, but despite this they still managed the first place. Right up until the last game though, it didn't look like they were actually going to manage it. After 4 games they were only in 14th place. They managed to jump to first after back-to-back wins in games 5 and 6. Such an impressive way to win a tournament, to go from 14th to first in 2 games, really good stuff from them. It's also nice to see French players doing well after what was such a disappointing year for them, having no French players at globals in their own country. Today was the first time that a French player has won a non-solo Cash Cup since October 2023, when Hedra won with Hydro. It was a great day for French teams in general, more on that later. Second place was also kind of a surprise. We had Malabuka and Panzer finishing there, despite the fact that they too were contested. They had to battle it out against Ivan, Jake and Craig at Kappa Kappa Factory, but they managed to come out on top. They also didn't look like they were going to finish second after the first few games, but a strong finish from them and a great placement. They're not a duo that have done particularly well since they formed, so it's nice to see them getting a really good result. In third place we had Cami and Hari, who were again contested. Very rare to see this many contested teams finishing this high up the leaderboard, so this finals definitely felt like a bit of an anomaly. Cami and Hari, they were contested by Blaha and Dharm at Shining Span, but despite this, a great performance and a third place finish. In fourth place we have Ping and Kiro, and up until the last few games it looked like these guys were going to win the tournament, which is incredibly impressive because they land in the northwest corner of the map, and in this tournament a lot of the zones pull to the southeast. So the fact that they were able to do so well, incredibly impressive. Ping and Kiro, a relatively new duo. I think both players are very good, very underrated, so I could see these guys doing well into 2026. 5 out of 6 of the players that came 5th, 6th and 7th were from France. In 5th we had Snazy and Icy Choco, in 6th the double controller duo of Akira and Karama, and in 7th Podesai playing with his new duo Acer. This really was a great tournament for the French community. In 8th we had the Russian duo of Dan Depuzo and Howley, another team that land in the northwest corner of the map. So fair play to them for doing so well, considering so many of the zones pull to the southeast. They would have done even better had game 1 not been voided. If you don't know, the first game of the tournament didn't count because only 79 players got in. We had the exact same issue last week, so that's why on the leaderboards it says 7 games. Only 6 of them actually count, and the one that Howley and Dan Depuzo won doesn't count. 8th is still a great finish, but they can feel pretty annoyed because had that game counted, they would have finished a lot higher. The leaderboard is rounded out by another French duo, Skyjump and Werex in 9th, and Loki and Rash managed to finish in 10th. Now after going through the top 10, you might have noticed that some of the big duos didn't feature, and that's because unfortunately many of them underperformed. Queasy and Thomas HD came 19th with uncontested Canyon Crossing, Chap and Flixie 22nd with uncontested Resistance Base. They were many people's favourites to win considering they won last week and they won Opens, so a pretty disappointing performance from them. Seti and Demus 33rd with uncontested Bugswatter Beach, and then perhaps the biggest shock of them all, Marius and Sky in 42nd place with uncontested OXR base. I actually picked them out to win the tournament on my Twitter. I do predictions for every set lobby final if you want to get involved with that. Not my best prediction this week, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. It's hard to say what went wrong for these teams. It is only 1 week. It's hard to be consistent all the time, but hopefully we can see them bounce back. We also had 2 big teams that struggled off spawn. Veno and Chino got dominated at Utopia City by the Spanish duo of Gordetti and Juani. They got beaten 4-1 or 5-1 if you count the game that was voided, so it just really wasn't their day. Here's a clip that kind of proves that. A 44th place finish for Chino and Veno. I'm sure we'll see them bounce back because they've shown what they can do in previous tournaments. It wasn't their day yesterday though. Another spawn fight that ended up being quite dominant was Shark and Teeny versus Focus and Haris at Supernova Academy. Shark and Teeny ended up coming out on top, winning 5-1. Neither team got a particularly high placement, Focus and Haris unfortunately only managing a 46th place, but I do think Teeny and Shark look good. As I've said before, they remind me of Teeny and Chap, a very good duo. I think they could replicate some of those results. We know what a good prospect Shark is, and I think 2026 will be the year he cements himself as a top player in EU. Focus and Harissa's underperformance also makes Savage and Focus a much more likely duo. I think we can expect to see that happen in the next few weeks. And I couldn't make this video without mentioning Peterbot and Acorn. They managed to qualify for the EU finals, they landed at Shogun Solitude, but unfortunately they only managed the 31st place. Listen, we can't expect them to finish too high, they were on 140 ping. The only thing I would say though is that they had a lot of zones go their way. They had one pulled directly onto Shogun Solitude, so I think they definitely have the opportunity to finish higher. They were W keyed and held in zone for a few games. I don't think that happens if it's just a random EU team at Shogun's rather than Peterbot. They did well, they did fine, they traded a lot of Surge, they made some end games. 31st, it's not too bad. So moving on from the Divisional Cup, let's discuss whether Epic are going to add a Reconnect button. So this week, Dignitas released their Globals documentary, which followed their players, Acorn, Cooper and Canada, at the Globals in Lyon. As part of the video, Cooper was interviewed and we got to see clips of him playing on stage. If you don't know, Cooper played with Reet and Curly, and Reet managed to crash in 2 of the 12 games. Game crashing has been a massive issue in Fortnite for a while now. It basically stopped Thomas HD from making grand finals in Major 3, which therefore stopped him making globals. Too many tournaments have been decided by game crashes rather than by pure skill. As a result, people have been asking for a reconnect button so that if a player crashes, they can get back into the game. Now this is pretty logistically difficult, but it seems like Epic might be working on it. Here's the clip.
Before the tournament, the admins told us that there was going to be a reconnect button. If people's game crashes, that there's a chance of it working.
Don't let me out. I mean, they said they have a reconnect feature, so...
So we're all sitting here waiting for him to have the possibility of reconnecting. 4 minutes go by, nothing goes. I'm like, all right, let's go play.
Now listen, before we get too excited, there's a couple of things to say. Firstly, as you can see, the feature didn't actually work. They claimed there was a reconnect button, but Reet didn't reconnect, so it clearly wasn't working that well. Also, doing it at LAN is completely different to doing it online. I reckon they probably could add this feature at a future LAN, maybe at Globals 2026, but adding it to online tournaments, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But listen, we don't know whether they're going to add a reconnect button for online tournaments. What we do know is that it's in their thoughts. The fact that they're thinking about it, they're trying to trial stuff, that's good. Hopefully they continue testing it out and we can have a reconnect button for the future of competitive Fortnite. So looking ahead, we've got another round of the solo series today. We're going to see it for the first time with the new mask meta. That should be really exciting. We've got the Eval Cup coming up this week. The Divisional Cup opens as well. It's going to be good. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment what you thought about the EU Divisional Cup, who you thought did well, who you thought struggled. I want to know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.